The dying red star at the heart of the ashen belt flickered like an exhausted beacon, its fading light casting long shadows across a graveyard of shattered megastructures. Commander Aidan Rourke stood at the Dominion's forward viewport, watching pieces of an ancient civilization drift past like fragments of a forgotten nightmare. Steel twisted into spirals, towers split open as if peeled by colossal hands, and geometric shapes that defied easy explanation spun silently in the void. Everything felt wrong, too deliberate, too violent. Frequency stable, Commander, Lieutenant Kassler reported from sensors. The distress signal's still cycling. It's old. Centuries, maybe more. Rourke nodded. Lock our position. Bring us within 100 kilometers of the source. His voice remained calm, but his fingers tightened behind his back. Nothing about this place felt natural. The deeper they moved in, the more the ruins resembled the aftermath of a vast autopsy. The Dominion's engines hummed softly as the battleship glided between the remains of a structure that had once been larger than most cities. Smooth metallic ribs curled inward, scorched at the edges and fused by extreme heat. Rourke leaned closer to the viewport. "Those lines," he murmured. "Look at the patterning. Someone cut through this with precision." "Or something," Kassler replied under his breath. The bridge crew kept their voices low, as if afraid the ruins might hear them. The Dominion's interior lights dimmed slightly as power shifted to scanning arrays. Data streamed across the tactical display: gravity pulses, radiation trails, particle residues that didn't match any known signature. Ensign Riva spoke up. "Commander, if this was a habitat, it's been torn open from the inside." Rourke glanced at her. "Run that again." She brought up an overlay showing fracture lines radiating outward. "Burst pattern indicates internal stress, like something forced its way out." Kassler gave a nervous laugh. "Well, that's comforting." Rourke didn't smile. "Launch Recon Drone 3. Let's see what's still breathing in there." The drone departed the Dominion like a silver arrow, weaving through jagged debris as its camera sent back a rushing stream of imagery. The interior of the megastructure was hollow, with fragments of shattered walkways and broken platforms floating freely. Rourke leaned over the console as the drone descended toward the core. Something glinted, an object suspended in the center of the cavernous space, held by faint energy lines that pulsed with irregular light. "Is that the beacon?" Kassler asked. "No," Rourke said quietly. "That's a data core." The drone circled the crystalline node. Symbols etched across its surface flickered, fading in and out as if struggling to stay alive. Rourke recognized nothing, yet the urgency in those shapes felt unmistakable. "Retrieve it," he ordered. "Bring it aboard, isolated containment." "Aye, Commander." The drone's arm extended, clamping onto the core. As soon as it touched it, the ambient radiation patterns shifted. A tremor passed through the ruins, subtle but clearly detected by Dominion's sensors. Riva frowned. "Something just activated." "Pull the drone back," Rourke said. "Double speed." The drone retreated, slipping through the silent wreckage. The Dominion's hangar swallowed it, and engineers rushed to secure the core in a sealed bay. Rourke waited until the green indicator flashed. "Begin decryption." His chief science officer, Dr. Mara Ilian, stepped onto the bridge with a tablet already scrolling alien glyph. She wore an expression halfway between fascination and dread. "We're getting partial audio," she said. "Not much. But what's here is unsettling." "Play it." The bridge fell silent. A distorted voice crackled through the speakers, layered and fractured like someone speaking underwater. The endless war voice, rising. "We thought the veil would hold, we." Static surged. "They are not machines, not beasts, they learn. They hunger for." Another crack of interference. "If anyone survives, turn back. Do not awaken the." The message collapsed into a shriek of digital noise. Dr. Ilian shut it off. Kassler exhaled sharply. "Sounds like they lost a war." Rourke folded his arms. "Or something far worse." Before anyone could speak again, Dominion's alarms chimed. The starship shuddered, not violently, but in a way that made the hairs at the back of Rourke's neck rise. "What was that?" he asked. Kassler stared at his console. Localized heat spikes across the ruins. No pattern. Just scattered ignitions. "Energy sources?" Rourke asked. "None consistent. But something's changing out there." Rourke stepped back to the viewport. The ruins were still drifting, though now he noticed faint glimmers along their surfaces, as if dormant circuits were flickering awake after centuries of silence. "Commander," Ilian whispered. "The data core didn't just record a message. It might be linked to a larger network." "And we just poked it," Kassler added. A low vibration passed through the ship. The Dominion's AI announced, external structures exhibiting motion inconsistent with gravitational drift. Rourke's jaw tightened. "Meaning?" "They're shifting," the AI replied. "As if responding to our presence." Rourke stared into the field of broken architecture. Pieces of metallic plating rolled slightly, as though something beneath them was stirring. It wasn't mechanical movement, more like a sleeping creature stretching its limbs. "Bring engines to standby," he ordered. "No sudden power spikes. I want us quiet." The crew followed the command without question. Even the hum of the ship seemed to subdue itself. The ashen belt loomed around them, silent yet expectant. Ensign Riva whispered, "Sir? I think the beacon's not a distress call. It's a warning." "Or a lock," Ilian said. "A seal." Rourke considered that carefully. He watched the Trifong spiral symbol rotating slowly on the tactical display, matching the marking carved violently across several rec panels the drone captured earlier. It didn't look like art or language. It resembled a brand burned onto the universe itself. "Whatever happened here," he said softly, "it wasn't an accident." The deck trembled again, more pronounced this time. Dominion's passive sensors registered a faint rhythmic pulse in the debris field. It wasn't mechanical. It wasn't geological. It felt like a heartbeat. Rourke broke the silence. "Everyone stay sharp. This place isn't dead. And if something's waking up..." He let the sentence hang. Everyone already understood. The ashen belt had been waiting for someone. Humanity had just stepped onto its stage. And something in the dark was listening. The ashen belt seemed to hold its breath. Dominion drifted in cautious silence, engines low, lights dimmed. Commander Rourke kept his eyes fixed on the ruins outside the viewport. Metal plates continued to roll and settle, stirring with a quiet purpose none of his instruments could fully interpret. "Commander," Kassler said, voice tight, heat signatures rising again, broader spread now. "It's like a chain reaction moving through the debris." Rourke leaned over the display. The map bloomed with red points, each marking a sudden spike. They formed no recognizable pattern, yet the sheer number unsettled him. "How long until the reaction converges?" he asked. "At this rate, seconds." Before Kassler could elaborate, a pulse rippled through the ruins. It wasn't sound, but everyone felt it, a pressure shift like a sudden change in gravity. The floor vibrated beneath their boot. Rourke straightened. "Report." Ilian checked her readings. "The structures are resonating. Whatever energy was dormant is now active. I've never seen anything respond this fast." Rourke exhaled slowly. "Launch Recon Drone 4. Full isolation." "Yes, sir." Drone 4 shot out from the hangar, weaving through a corridor of splintered steel. A moment later, its feed streamed across the bridge, a close-up of a vast metallic shell cracking open. Inside the fissure, organic fibers pulsed with faint luminescence. "Commander, that's not architecture," Riva whispered. "That's biological." The drone dipped lower, scanning the exposed chamber. Rows of curved pods lined the walls, dormant but intact. Each pod bore the Trifong spiral carved deep into its outer layer. Rourke felt a chill crawl up his spine. "Back it out," he ordered. The drone pivoted, but something flashed across the screen. A dark shape lunged, too fast to resolve. The feed cut to static. Kassler slammed a hand on his console. Drone lost. No telemetry, no debris trace. Rourke kept his voice steady. It didn't malfunction. Something took it. The Dominion shuddered again, harder this time. The vibrations traveled through every bulkhead. Multiple alert icons flared. Kassler's voice cracked. Contact. Hundreds, no, thousands, emerging from the ruins. The viewport filled with motion. Spheres of cracked metal burst apart like eggshells. From each cavity, elongated vessels unfurled, chitinous, sharp-edged, built like living predators. They stretched their segmented hulls before launching into coordinated formation. No engines visible, no thrusters, yet they moved with uncanny precision. "Dr. Ilian?" Rourke asked. "They're alive," she said. "Biomechanical hybrids engineered for combat. And they're responding to the activation pulse." A larger shape drifted forward from the ruins, a massive vessel resembling a colossal armored serpent. Its hull glowed with a deep crimson ripple that traveled along its body like blood beneath skin. "Transmit identification request," Rourke said. Kassler hesitated. "Sir, that thing could. It already knows we're here." A moment later, every screen on the bridge went black. Then a voice tore through the silence. Low. Layered. Predatory. Humanity. The lights flickered. The display returned, showing an obsidian mask shaped like a skull with 3 downward fangs, the same Trifong emblem etched in the ruins. "You stand within the cradle of the architects," the voice said. "They believed themselves eternal. We proved them wrong." Rourke stepped forward. "Identify yourself." A pause. Then, "I am Zaranthos, Warlord Prime of the Threxian Swarm." The tone was neither hostile nor diplomatic. It sounded analytical, as if studying a specimen. Rourke kept his posture rigid. "Why are you here?" "We rest where we ended them. Their silence is our monument." Ilian whispered, "Dear God." Zaranthos continued, "Your species arrives early. Curious. The architects required millennia to become a threat. You, barely centuries." Rourke felt the bridge go cold. "We are not your enemy. All growth challenges the swarm. You are no exception." The transmission cut abruptly. Dominion's alarms blared. Kassler shouted, multiple swarms converging, closing in fast. "Bring engines to full," Rourke ordered. "Prepare evasive maneuvers." The Dominion surged forward as the nearest swarm vessels unleashed beams of acidic energy that streaked past the hull, dissolving debris in their path. The battleship danced between jagged fragments while the smaller creatures pursued with lethal coordination. "Return fire," Rourke commanded. Dominion's lances cut through 2 attackers, scattering fragments of chitinous armor. But for each one destroyed, 3 more emerged. "Vector shift 18 degrees down," Rourke said. "Then accelerate to max." The helmsman followed instantly, dropping Dominion beneath a collapsing structure before boosting out of its shadow. The maneuver jolted everyone, but it carved a brief path through the flotilla. A heavy impact rocked the ship. Sparks burst across a console. "Shields at 72%. Kassler yelled. Another wave of swarm beams fired from multiple angles. Rourke scanned the tactical display, seeking a weakness. There were none. Every enemy moved as if guided by a single mind. "Helm, prepare a hard break." "On my mark." "Ready." A cluster of swarm vessels surged ahead, anticipating Dominion's course. Rourke smirked faintly. "Not today." "Mark." Dominion pivoted sharply, engines flaring. The ship dove into a narrow corridor formed by 2 fractured spires drifting apart. Several swarm vessels slammed into the metal shards behind them, shattering on impact. "Path clear," the helmsman shouted. 30 seconds until we hit open space." Rourke didn't relax. "Accelerate. Push everything to the mains." Dominion blasted free of the ruins, leaving the pulsating wreckage behind. The open starfield spread before them like an untouched horizon. But the enemy was not done. Zaranthos' voice returned, calm as ever. "Your evasion is interesting. The architects resisted similarly in their early wars. Rourke growled. We're nothing like them. A matter to be tested. The massive serpent-like flagship emerged from the shadows, its body uncoiling as if waking fully for the first time. The sight chilled the entire bridge. Kassler whispered, "We can't outrun that." "No," Rourke said. "But we can outthink it." He studied the star map. A gravitational rift nearby could distort space enough to mask their escape vector. "Course plotted," the helmsman said. "It's unstable. It's our only window." Dominion plunged toward the rift. Pressure built around the ship as space folded irregularly. The swarm grew smaller on the display, though the flagship still pursued. "Hold steady," Rourke said. The rift expanded, dragging them into a blur of distorted light. In the final instant before they vanished, Zaranthos spoke again. "Run, humanity. The evolution of conflict has begun." The Dominion burst into open space beyond the belt. Silence returned to the bridge. Kassler exhaled shakily. "Commander, what did we wake up?" Rourke stared at the dark behind them. "Not something," he said. "Someone." And that someone had marked humanity. The moment the Dominion touched dock at Terra Nova Command, Commander Aidan Rourke felt the tension shift from external danger to internal resistance. The station's pristine corridors and bright lighting clashed with the memory of the Ashen Belt's darkness. Here, everything appeared orderly, calm, collected, far removed from the nightmare he'd escaped. Yet the crew moved with urgency, knowing what followed them. Admiral Seraphine met Rourke outside the airlock. Her expression carried neither surprise nor relief, only concern sharpened by experience. "You look like hell," she said quietly. "Better than what's behind us," he replied. She didn't waste time. "The Council's waiting. They already think you're exaggerating." Rourke knew that tone. It meant decisions would be influenced more by political fear than by logic. The Council convenes. The War Room's circular layout placed Rourke at the center, surrounded by officials who'd never stood on a burning hull or watched comrades die at the edge of known space. Screens showed the Dominion's footage. The Ashen Belt, the activated pods, the swarm's emergence. Rourke stood tall. "What you've seen is not an isolated threat. A coordinated force awakened, intelligent, methodical, and prepared for expansion. If we don't mobilize, they'll cut through the frontier like it's unclaimed ground." Council leader Marston steepled his fingers. "Your report speaks of an alien voice identifying itself as a war commander. How certain are you that this was not misinterpreted data corruption? Distress signals degrade. Ancient ruins distort signals." Rourke kept his frustration in check. "We analyzed it extensively. The message was deliberate. This species is active, organized, and aware of us." Governor Hale leaned back with calculated skepticism. "Yet they didn't pursue you outside the ruins. That suggests boundaries. Perhaps they're territorial, not expansionist." Rourke met her gaze. "They said we were a test. Not a trespasser, a test." Some murmured uneasily, but Hale remained unmoved. "We cannot assume hostile intent based on cryptic statements." He tapped a command, and the screen displayed the massive serpent-like flagship seen in the belt. "This," Rourke said firmly, "is hostile intent." Marston raised a hand. "Even if we accept that, we lack the resources for full-scale mobilization. Colonies are stretched thin. Supply lines are strained. We cannot prepare for a hypothetical apocalypse." It wasn't hypothetical. Rourke replayed the swarm battle in his mind, the sheer number of vessels, the precision of their movement, the unmistakable predatory design. "Sir," Rourke said evenly, "I watched them rise from the remains of a dead empire. They didn't defeat those people. They exterminated them. We found no survivors. Not even wreckage that suggested resistance lasted long." Riva, standing at Rourke's side, added, "Their attack patterns were synchronized on a level beyond any known fleet coordination. They don't improvise, they accelerate." The Council fell silent. Marston's lips tightened. "We hear your concerns. But we must evaluate realistically." "Realistically?" Rourke thought. Reality was the Dominion bleeding under swarm fire while a monster spoke in calm, dissecting tones. A closed-door conversation. After the meeting, Seraphine pulled Rourke aside into a private corridor overlooking Terra Nova's planetary curve. Her voice lowered. "They're scared," she said. "Fear makes them cautious. We don't have time for caution." She hesitated, then unlocked a secured panel on the wall. A small screen illuminated with encrypted schematic. Rourke recognized the blueprints instantly. "Project Goliath," he said. Seraphine nodded. "A gravitational modulation engine. Our attempt to leap ahead technologically after the frontier collapse. Still unstable. Still dangerous. We'll need it." "I know," she sighed. "But the Council won't authorize deployment. They fear backlash if something goes wrong." Rourke studied the blueprint's curved reactor arms and complex Neuralink framework. "How close is it to operational?" "Close. But whoever interfaces with it risks severe neural overload. Possibly fatal." Rourke didn't flinch. "I'll take the risk." Seraphine stared at him, reading the sincerity in his eyes. "I had a feeling you'd say that." Internal threats. While walking back toward the Dominion, Rourke's path crossed Governor Hale and two aides reviewing a tablet. Their conversation stopped abruptly as he approached. Hale offered a diplomatic smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Commander. Impressive footage. Terrifying but impressive. You're still convinced they're not preparing to invade?" "Caution is not denial," she said. "We must avoid provoking a conflict if communication is possible." Rourke glanced at her tablet. It displayed Dominion's raw sensor logs, records she should not have been granted access to. "Who authorized that?" he asked. Hale closed the tablet briskly. "I requested the data for independent verification. You're undermining necessary preparation." "And you," she replied lightly, "are dangerously close to encouraging panic." They parted without another word. But Rourke felt the certainty settle. Hale wasn't simply cautious. She intended to steer decisions toward diplomacy, even if it meant suppressing critical information. New reports. The Dominion's ready room buzzed with tension as Rourke rejoined his senior officers. Kassler projected incoming transmissions onto the holo display. "Frontier assets are losing contact," he said. "Listening posts 11 through 15 are dark. No distress calls, just silence." Ilian added, "Colonies Vega Rim and Halcyon Verge report unidentified interference. Some speculate natural causes." "I don't buy it." Riva's voice cracked slightly. "This is how it started for the architects, isn't it? One outpost lost. Then another. Then entire systems." Rourke steadied her. "We're not the architects. We adapt faster." But even as he said it, the dread in his gut deepened. The swarm had awakened fully, the first wave had begun. Terra Nova was debating semantics while the frontier fell piece by piece. Kassler turned to him. "What's our next move, sir?" Rourke faced his officers, people he trusted with his life. "We prepare," he said. "Whether the Council approves or not. Mobilize the fleet. Fortify the frontier. And find a way to bring Goliath online." "You're planning to defy orders?" Riva whispered. Rourke shook his head. "I'm planning to keep us alive." Final beat. Hours later, after dismissing his officers, Rourke stood alone in the observation lounge. Terra Nova glowed below, peaceful and unaware of the encroaching nightmare. The memory of the Ashen Belt replayed in fragments, those pods, the heartbeat echoing through metal, the Serpent flagship unfurling. "We don't choose our enemies," he said quietly. "But we can choose how we meet them." Behind him, the stars stretched outward, cold, vast, and now hostile. Humanity had been noticed, and the swarm did not lose interest. The frontier burned on the tactical map like a spreading infection. Commander Aidan Rourke stood at the Dominion's command table, watching red markers multiply across the Orion expanse. Listening posts had gone silent. Trade lanes flickered offline. Colonies along the rim transmitted frantic warnings before their signals abruptly ended. The swarm wasn't probing. It was advancing. Rourke straightened and addressed his officers. "We're not waiting for Terra Nova's approval. The frontier needs us now. Launch all fighter wings and prep the fleet for immediate engagement." Kassler acknowledged and relayed orders. The Dominion's crew moved with sharp purpose, fear present but controlled. These people had served under Rourke long enough to trust that if anyone could keep them alive in the jaws of an unstoppable force, it was him. As the Dominion entered formation with the gathered frontier fleet, the sight gave Rourke a momentary breath. 50 ships, battered yet ready. Frigates, destroyers, cruisers, and carriers, all positioned in a layered defense line around the two most vulnerable colonies in the swarm's path. Still, he knew the numbers weren't enough. Riva approached. "Evacuation shuttles are nearly full. Colony leaders request 10 more minutes." "We'll give them 5, Rourke said. "Any longer and they won't make it out." She nodded and hurried back to the comms pit. The stars ahead darkened as though a shadow passed over them. Kassler stiffened at his station. "Commander, incoming signatures." "A lot." Rourke walked to the viewport. At first, he saw only faint glimmers, points of moving light. But the glimmers thickened into a shifting wall of organic metal. Vessels of every size emerged from the void, unfolding like wings of a monstrous organism awakening fully. Then came the flagship, the serpent-like war vessel they'd seen in the Ashen Belt, its elongated hull rippling with crimson luminescence. Its presence dwarfed every other ship, even Dominion. Riveted gasps echoed across the bridge. A transmission broke through, smooth and deliberate. "Humanity, your preparation is adequate for a species of your age. Show us your evolution." "Zaranthos." Rourke stepped forward. "You'll see exactly how far we've come." He cut the channel before the creature could reply. "Fleet," he said, voice steady, "we hold until the last shuttle clears the zone. Then we fight our way out. The battle begins." The swarm advanced with chilling coordination. Thousands of vessels moved as if guided by a single intent, accelerating without hesitation. Their first volley erupted in a storm of corrosive beams and kinetic spores. "Shields bracing," Kassler shouted. The initial impact shook the Dominion violently, but the ship held. Rourke barked, "All ships, counter fire. Use slingshot vectors and force them to split." Human vessels responded instantly. Destroyers darted through narrow arcs, firing precise lance bursts that carved open mid-size swarm craft. Carriers unleashed waves of fighters, weaving erratic patterns to throw off the enemy's predictive targeting. For a brief moment, the sky became a dance of streaking light, human ingenuity versus alien precision. "Left flank collapsing," Riva called. 15 swarm vessels pushing through. Rourke analyzed the display. "Redirect the Calderon and Strict. Intercept at 90-degree convergence." "On it." The two human ships executed a sharp crisscross maneuver, startling the swarm formation and forcing them apart long enough for the fighter wings to sweep in. Explosions rippled across the field. But the victory was temporary. The swarm adapted instantly, shifting to envelop the human center. Rourke gripped the console. "Dominion, advance. We're punching a lane straight through them." The helmsman hesitated only a second. "Yes, sir." Dominion surged forward, barreling into the densest cluster of enemy craft. Its spinal lance roared to life, unleashing a beam so bright it carved a glowing wound across the swarm's front line. Chitinous hulls split open, scattering fragments into the void. Kassler exhaled, stunned. "Commander, that bought us space." "For now," Rourke replied. "Maintain momentum." A sacrifice. Despite human maneuvering, the swarm's sheer numbers began to tell. A spearhead of razor-shaped vessels broke through the defense line, aiming directly for the nearest colony. Captain Darius, commanding the frigate Horizon's Edge, opened a channel. "Aiden," he said, voice steady despite the chaos, "I'm in position to intercept." Don't argue. Rourke clenched his jaw. Darius, pull back. We'll handle the spearhead. You won't reach them in time. The frigate angled sharply toward the oncoming swarm cluster. Rourke saw it play out. Horizon's edge's trajectory, the swarm's acceleration, the inevitable collision. Darius, Rourke said softly, don't do this. His friend chuckled, calm, resolute. You always said we'd go down fighting for something that mattered. Today's as good as any. The transmission cut. Horizon's Edge ignited its engines and rammed into the swarm's spearhead. The resulting explosion ripped through dozens of enemy vessels, halting the attack wave entirely. Silence gripped the Dominion's bridge. Rourke closed his eyes for a heartbeat. Then he forced himself back into focus. Log the Horizon's Edge as lost with honors. Aye, sir, Castler whispered. Gaining ground. The battle raged on. Though battered, humanity refused to break. Rourke issued rapid-fire orders. Rotate shields. Anchor point Bravo, shift it left. Bring the fighter wings home, they're running too hot. Each command bought seconds, and seconds saved lives. Shuttles finally cleared the evacuation threshold. Commander, Reva said, relief in her voice. Evac is complete. Good, Rourke replied. Signal the fleet. We're leaving. The human ships tightened into a compact wedge, preparing to slip past the swarm's outer layer. But Zaranthos wasn't finished. The warlord speaks again. The Serpent flagship glided closer. The alien voice returned, smooth and calculated. Your improvisation is unusual. The architects lacked such variability. You survive longer than predicted. Rourke answered, You underestimate the wrong species. On the contrary, Zaranthos replied. Your potential exceeds expectation. That is why you must be measured and culled if necessary. Enough. Rourke pointed toward the flagship. Target that thing's command node. Already locked, Castler said. Fire. Dominion's lance fired a concentrated burst, bright, focused, and deadly. The beam struck the flagship's armor, carving molten grooves along its surface. The Serpent vessel recoiled, surprised but not crippled. Zaranthos spoke again, voice colder than before. Interesting. Retreat. With the path temporarily open, Rourke issued the final order. All ships, jump. Reactors surged. Space distorted. The remaining frontier fleet broke through the swarm's formation and vanished into the jump corridor. As the Dominion slipped away, Rourke watched the battlefield shrink behind them, wreckage drifting, fires fading, the Serpent flagship looming unharmed. This was not victory. It was survival. Barely. Final beat. Rourke stood at the viewport long after the jump tunnel stabilized. Darius's sacrifice echoed in his mind. The swarm had tested humanity today. And this was only the beginning. We held, Rourke whispered. But they're not done. The stars ahead awaited the next chapter of war.